Mijn naam is Martijn Kooi. Ik ben managing director voor Raster. Ik zal straks toelichten waar Raster valt binnen de ICT Group. Michael Langer is ook aanwezig. Hij is Chief Product Officer van Radiflow. En mijn collega Maaike Nieuwenhuis is ook hier aanwezig in de ruimte. En zij is Key Account Manager voor Raster. En zij faciliteert de Q&A voor later. ICT Group is een beursgenoteerd Nederlands bedrijf. 1500 professionals, met name op OT gericht, softwareoplossingen. Bestaan meer dan 40 jaar en draaien ze ongeveer 160 miljoen omzet. We zijn niet alleen in Nederland actief, met name op Noord- en West-Europa gericht. Dat doen we met verschillende brands. Als je kijkt, hier zie je een overzicht van de groep. Nederland is het hoofdkantoor, hier in Barendrecht. Dan hebben we in België, Duitsland, Bulgarije en Zweden zijn activiteiten gericht op consultancy, projecten, detachering. Voor alles wat te maken heeft met softwareontwikkelingen. Ga je kijken naar productoplossingen, dan zie je bij Cross Industries hetgene wat we daarin doen met andere brands zoals Orange Next, Attitude Improve en Stripes. Specifiek voor dit webinar is Raster degene die zich focust op het OT cybersecurity stuk. En dat zie je dus aan de linkerkant en wij vallen binnen het industriedomein. Iets meer over Raster dan als partij, als brand binnen de ICT Group. Raster is dus 100% onderdeel van de groep. Wij zijn actief op het PLC en SCADA vlak. En wij kijken naar de A-spelers op dat segment. En zodoende zijn wij partner met Schneider Electric, met Siemens en met Allen Bradley, zeggen Rockwell. En voor het OT security stuk hebben wij een strategisch partnership met Radiflow, waarover dit webinar zal gaan. Vanuit Raster zijn wij systeemintegrator voor het product van Radiflow. Dus hun software tooling is hetgeen wat wij kunnen implementeren voor onder andere Nederlandse accounts. En dat doen wij in verschillende segmenten. Energy, oil and gas, food, maar ook bijvoorbeeld voor machinebouw. Diverse proof of concepts hebben we gedaan, maar het is ook daadwerkelijk uitgerold. Dus ja, er is kennis en kunde van de systemen. En het draait ook. En klanten willen dat ook tonen. Dus we kunnen altijd referentiebezoeken regelen. Binnen de unit of binnen Raster hebben wij een speciale focus op een stukje safety in de olie- en gaswereld. En ook op een stukje OT cybersecurity, dus conform de IEC 62443 normering. Onze engineers zijn er ook op gecertificeerd en getraind. En wat wij met name doen, wij doen voor de eindklanten dan de systeemintegratie en de implementatie van dergelijke toepassingen.
Hello to everyone. I'm switching to English. Thank you, Martijn. Few words about who we are. Radiflow, as Martijn said, we are a cybersecurity solution provider for critical infrastructures and manufacturing. We provide solutions and services for security lifecycle in a few areas. We are also have multiple technology partnerships with IT and OT different security systems, and I will explain later how can we assist to achieve compliance and various assistance to comply to various international standards in the cybersecurity area. So we have a few products and services, as I mentioned. The main one is in detection and monitoring area. We have our industrial intrusion detection system called ICID. We have a few products for access policy enforcement and authorization policy enforcement for secure gateway. I will explain a little bit later how can we assist in this field. And also we provide a few services mainly in cybersecurity risk assessment and analytics, according to various standards, specifically 62443, and also providing technology and services to various MSSPs. So this, as I mentioned, we have a lot of partnership. We are not alone in this area of cybersecurity in the industrial world. So we have multiple integration with our partners in SIM field and cybersecurity analytics. We have integration with leading firewall providers and also OT security management and OT asset management leading products. So this is a few sentences about Radiflow. The theme of this webinar is how can we secure a remote approach, remote access during the extremely challenging times that we have in the whole world. So ICS-based enterprises are not used to working remotely. On the opposite side, more IT-focused enterprise, they are more comfortable with this. Due to a few reasons. The first one is that our customers and the OT enterprises are very used to access SCADA service engineering stations locally from within the enterprise. Not every OT asset management software are commoditized and are used to work remotely and open for remote access. And also there are very few, if any, policies and procedures in place for production workers for working not locally from within the network, but from home or any other remote access. Just for your knowledge, the DHS, United States DHS, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency published a few months ago, I think 2 months or so, insights how they recommend do risk management in the area of cybersecurity during coronavirus times. So you have here the link. Is very useful resource to read. If we are talking about the threat landscape, and this slide is should be constantly updated, we see a lot of threats coming in to the enterprises, and which are leveraging this kind of fear of people and various problematic situations in order to get initial foothold and to spread the malware. So we have seen the mobile malware disguising as tracking application. We have seen a lot of spam attacks. There are pretty much a lot of publications about the phishing campaigns, which are all these phishing emails which are weaponized with different sorts of ransomware and encryptors and info stealers, and they are trying to get into the IT and OT networks of the enterprises from various sectors, both healthcare, government, transportation, and critical infrastructure. Actually, the threats are definitely not went away, but on opposite, they are just raising. Just a few days ago, and this is not on this slide, but a few days ago, we have seen the British UK company from the electricity sector named Ericsson got also hacked. So I will mention it a little bit later during one of my slides, but this is happening practically every day. Sorry. So, if we will talk about the what kind of recommendations and what kind of changes enterprise should apply in order to improve its security for remote workforce, especially in the field of OT and industrial control systems, we are talking actually about the main three pillars. The first one is organizational adaptations and changes. The second one is cybersecurity technology wise, and the third one is the process. So if you are seeing here the well-known PPT, people's process and technology, you are actually right. So these are three main issues for every change, and the security of remote workforce is definitely one of the changes and very major changes in our times. So we will a little bit explain about each of these. The first one, organizational issues. So how can we improve our risk management in the cyber security area through this pillar? First of all, employers should conduct their own preparations for this kind of working mode. Allocate dedicated computers for remote access. Please don't allow your OT engineers to access the entire OT networks from computers of their kids and so on. Basically, I have an example from Israel. We have during early days of coronavirus the shortage of laptops because a lot of companies bought hundreds of laptops for their workers for remote access. Actually, although most of people are probably not in the place, the employer still should maintain a minimal on-site, very essential presence in order to see and to give a hand if there's any problems, issues, incidents, cyber-wise or technological-wise. Social engineering training, or probably avoidance of all the spam and phishing. When people are at home, their mood and their mode of operations are less likely feeling to be attacked or be spear phished. The issue of emails and preventing all the spear phishing emails, especially Corona themed and that related, is very important. If we're going to talk about IT related spear phishing, also cyber criminals know that now people are expecting to get their emails from the IT departments in order to prepare themselves for remote access. There are a lot of spearphished mails talking about please install this and this software or that software or change that password to this specific service, and people are expecting that, so they should be very tuned to get and to check and to be trained on this issue. And also preparation for of IT department itself or the enterprise. We're talking about increased number of people getting access remotely. We're not sure that the capacity and capability of the enterprise, especially for the enterprise, is capable to do it. So the capacity planning and capability analysis, logging, and all this stuff should be in place. Also, with increased support level for people who will have problems to getting access into this mode of operations. So if we are talking about this organizational issue, we are moving on to the technology. These are best practices for everyday work, but in remote access, the risk of getting hacked or getting breached is constantly increasing. So this is much more important to get and to review these best practices again. The first one is the network and user access policies. So for example, users, we can check whether we have a guest user account or users that left our enterprise. We should really review it and not to leave any dormant accounts or rules or permissions into our enterprise, because cyber criminals will get advantage of this one. VPN software. As I mentioned 4 days ago, Ericsson was, which is a UK kind of measurement company within electricity sector, critical infrastructure company, was breached. Their IT network was breached. And the sources on the net, they stated that the breach was due to outdated VPN software of Pulse Secure. So there are vulnerabilities of, I think, over a year for this kind of software. And there are a lot of enterprises who just don't have time, don't have priorities, or whatever reason it is, to patch this kind of software. So now this is very attractive target for the hackers to get into this company, because they know that this software is in place. They can scan for it and utilize the well-known exploits to get into. So this is a last day's example, a very actual one and very relevant one. Multi-factor authentication for the for this kind of access is also more than important. We can't use just user password. All the best practices are talking about the two-factor authentication with it could be various implementations via smartphones, Google Authenticator, or any other means, software or hardware tokens, but definitely it should be a multi-factor authentication. IT/OT segmentation and endpoint protection. In our work, we have seen a number of very flat networks with IT and OT systems on the same network and same network flow. So if we are talking about remote access and allowing not only OT users to get into remotely, but first and foremost from IT users, from finance people, from marketing people, from any other IT intensive users. So to segment this kind of networks, our critical infrastructure and the IT network is more than important, and should minimize the risk for breaching OT networks and manufacturing. Last and not least, and probably one of the important security controls is detection. And even we don't have IT and OT segmentation in place, we should at least to monitor what's going on and to get visibility of our critical infrastructure. We should put in place visibility controls and especially for remote access protocols in this time, and to know what's going on in our network. Even if we were missed to detect any breach, to prevent breach, at least we will be able to detect it and to take necessary steps to contain the breach and to deploy the response. So this is one of the most important cybersecurity controls in OT floor, especially if we don't have time patch every single controller or HMI or any other servers, or put the firewalls and segmentation controls in our network. The last pillar, as I mentioned, is our processes. So I assume, and this is kind of a good assumption, that your enterprise has a security operations center, and it monitors and responds to any alerts during regular times. But definitely in COVID-19 times, we have multiple alerts, especially for remote access. So if during regular days we have fewer single-digit number of alerts for someone who get access from outside, so trying to get access, during these days it will be hundreds of people trying to access and get actually the logging and footprint inside. So we should prepare ourselves in terms of SOC and our analysts and our first responders to be ready for this kind of alerts, to be ready for change of operation modes, and to adopt itself for a specific this kind of course of operations. In the same field, incident response procedures, they should be refreshed and updated because of these kind of different kind of operations. We have remote access of multiple people. We have probably any denial of service issues, and we have less people on the floor. So we should, within the network, so we should update our procedures and our incident response process to the specific enterprise view, and to leverage this kind of operations to the specific responses. There are probably some playbooks, what we are doing, whom we are reporting to, and others. And the last and not least, backup and recovery plans. As I mentioned, there are a lot of really tens of breaches that includes various strains of ransomware and different kind of demands for ransom and encryption of the systems. So during these days, it's more important to have your backup plan to check and test if it's working, and to make sure that your recovery also is in place, and if it's can be done, even to conduct kind of dry drill to make sure that if something will happen, the answer will be positive and you will be able to recover in a minimum period of time. So how can we help to during these days, and after all these insights and our recommendations, what can we assist to? So as I mentioned, our flagship product is industrial visibility, OT visibility, and the cyber threat detection system. We have actually it's completely passive. It can be attached to the port mirroring of network switches of the OT network, and it applies different kinds of agents in the automatic mode to learn what's going on your network, what kind of assets you have, business processes. It has a deep packet inspection analysis of the most of industrial protocols. We have support for, as I said, Siemens, Schneider, and the other well-known brands, both protocols and the devices. The system also knows how to provide the recommendations and insights to its cybersecurity operator, and to according to the risk from outside, from inside, different kind of risks. We know also how to monitor a PLC for configuration changes, and you can see here the kind of population alerts from different protocols that OT people, OT manager, or OT cybersecurity people can go through and see what's going on, when it happened, any sensitive operational command on the industrial floor, to make sure that we have no any disruption and everything is in place. The other system is a secure gateway, which is mainly for industrial, ruggedized industrial device. It can be featured in number of modules as a firewall for industrial protocols. As I mentioned before in the beginning of my briefing, is for remote access policy enforcement. So we can integrate with the radios or any other remote access server, and to check and authorized and authenticate specific user for specific IP to get into the devices. It can deploy IPsec VPN module, and also through the various kind of interfaces. So this device can be utilized in order to assist the enterprise to make sure that remote sites are secure and nobody is trying to hack into them. So that's basically it. As I said, we also have a risk assessment service. So and this can be done in order to assist the enterprise to get assessment by according to the IEC 62443 standard. So we are more than likely to assist you, to help you during these days. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Voordat we naar de Q&A gaan, wat we kunnen organiseren met elkaar is dat wij hier een follow-up aan kunnen geven in samenwerking met Radiflow. Dus mocht u vragen hebben, interesse hebben, willen weten van ja, hoe ziet mijn landschap eruit van de PLC en SCADA omgeving en hoe zouden jullie dat kunnen monitoren en eventueel kunnen beveiligen, zodat wij als bedrijf ons makkelijk kunnen voldoen aan de regelwetgeving. Ja, daar willen wij natuurlijk aan mee kunnen meedenken. Dat kan op basis van een demo of een assessment. En wat ervaring leert eigenlijk is, voor elke soort portemonnee is er wel een invulling aan te geven. En daar bedoel ik mee dat het heel schaalbaar is en ook in technieken. Dus ja, we gaan graag het gesprek aan met u om te kijken van wat passend is. Dan rest ons nu de vragen, opmerkingen die u heeft. Michael, can you say something about duration of implementation of complexity of implementing these type of systems? So is that what's a good approach for you to that?
Okay, so as I mentioned, most of so our system, threat detection system, is should connect to the network infrastructure as a passive, completely passive way. So it's given that the network switches support these capabilities, actually is very, very quick, and in most ways it's a matter of days, single days that we are coming and our partners, or we can done it remotely also, and install the on virtual infrastructure or in physical server, and we are providing guidance how to look in it on these kind of systems, what are important, and so I think the implementation is pretty straightforward, giving the cooperation of the customer. And also we have a partner like Raster, like yourself, so that knows customers and knows its infrastructure, so it should be very easy.
So once the application is clear, the size, the landscape, then you can implement it very fast, and then you can start this learning mode and switching over quite soon to the detecting mode.
Exactly. So the first period of time, so it's a system is working and learning the what's going on, to provide the first look and visibility to the stakeholders, to the operator, to the OT guy or cybersecurity engineer, and then after baselining this, which can be done automatically in one click, baseline the traffic and the rules and what's going on, system moves to the detection mode, and after that it's also only pops up the alerts and the activities which are not on the same behavior as we approved.
Oké, clear. Bedankt voor uw tijd en aandacht. En ja, we komen graag met u in contact om verder het OT-landschap veiliger te krijgen.